Hello everyone, my name is Lubyna. I'm your Vice President Community and Welfare here at UWE. Today we have a special guest from UWE Drugs and Alcohol Services. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Lubyna. Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a bit about your role as a drugs and alcohol practitioner at UWE and how you support students in this capacity?
Absolutely. So I offer students one-to-one support, so they'll have a sort of confidential, non-judgmental appointment with me. And quite often what we'll do in that first appointment is we'll offer an assessment and we'll see if students need to have sort of ongoing support. But for some of them, they may find one conversation with a drug and alcohol practitioner is enough for them to get sort of the goals they wanted to set and the skills they needed to be able to achieve that.
Thank you so much. So let's talk about some common issues students are facing. So what are some of the most common issues students facing, and when it comes to drugs and alcohol, particularly in a university setting?
So I mean, what we've really seen over the last 12 months is a real increase in ketamine use, and that has motivated us actually to do a directed, targeted campaign for ketamine to make sure that our students have the sort of real knowledge and understanding of the long-term and short-term consequences of using ketamine. So we see this across Bristol and nationally as well. So this isn't a UWE issue specifically, but it's definitely something that we are seeing an increase in issues around. Physically, it's causing people a lot of issues with their bladder. People experience things called K cramps when they're using large quantities. And the biggest issue is ketamine is really, really cheap for many of our students to be able to access and really accessible as well. So I think in combination with the sort of availability, the cost, and in a cost of living crisis, we're really facing a lot of issues around ketamine.
All right, thank you so much for the information. So let's talk about signs of struggling. So what are some of the signs that a student or someone close to them may be struggling with substances misuse?
So I guess there's two parts to that for me. You may see a friend struggling on a night out, being able to control their alcohol consumption and being able to control the amount of substances they choose to use. So some of their peers may around them be able to take a sort of reasonable amount and be able to get home safely and take care of themselves whilst using these substances. And what we can see when people start to misuse substances in a way that becomes detrimental is that they feel unable to control their consumption. So they might use much more than their peers on a night out and may end up sort of going missing or, you know, leaving the party and causing sort of stress and concern for their friends. I guess on the other hand, you may sort of see friends not turning up to uni, missing lectures, maybe not wanting to socialise in the same way that they used to and becoming a little bit withdrawn. I guess if you are ever concerned about a friend or their substance use, speaking to them about it in the first instance can be the best thing to do. And that could just be as simple as, is everything okay? You know, I noticed you were drinking a bit more last weekend. I just want to check in and make sure you're okay.
That's great, thank you. So if we talk about like the support and services at UWE, so what types of services and resources does UWE offer to students dealing with drugs and alcohol related issues?
So the drug and alcohol service that exists at UWE is, you know, really pioneering and really pragmatic approach to student substance use. And so, you know, that is available to all students to be able to pop in and have just a one-off conversation with me, or like I said before, some more structured support. But we mustn't lose sight of the fact that your mental health and trauma can be a big factor in people using substances problematically. So we're really, really fortunate to have a fantastic wellbeing service which offers mental health support and counselling as well. So UWE really offers quite a holistic package of support available to students.
That's amazing. A wide services are available at UWE. For students who might be hesitant or unsure, how can they reach out for support at UWE without feeling judged?
You know, many of our staff have been trained by myself to sort of embody this harm reduction approach. So hopefully, you know, going to your student support advisor, your program lead, your counsellor, you know, everywhere you turn at UWE, you should be receiving a non-judgmental conversation around substance use. So I think, you know, speaking to those that you trust in the first instance to find out if they have their own experience of coming to the service or having spoken with me can be a really good place to start. But also, you know, reaching out to me via email, I'm very happy to respond in that way. or we can have a quick telephone conversation if they've felt a bit of anxiety before having a full-on appointment.
Amazing. Let's talk about breaking the stigma. How can we as a community break the stigma surrounding substances misuse, particularly in a student environment?
That's a great question, because I think this is something that we continue to face as a society, that there will be stigma around substance use. I believe that communication and talking about things is the key to sort of breaking down that stigma and making sure that people have the real understanding of where problematic substance use comes from, and that there is a real difference in recreational use and problematic use. And quite often that problematic use that does maybe cause harm to the communities or those around them comes from a place of trauma. People don't use substances in a problematic way because they're happy, because things are going well in their life. Generally, it's coming from a place of distress and trying to manage that. And for me, I think once you understand that, having that judgment and that sort of criticism around that becomes really difficult, because actually, these are people who are struggling and are finding coping mechanisms and ways to cope. So I think, having that understanding is really important, but also talking about these things, naming it and bringing it out into the open air conversation is the best way we can move forward.
Definitely. So as Becky, you are doing amazing work at UWE. So let's talk about your personal experience. So what inspired you to pursue this career, and what keeps you motivated to continue helping students in this area?
Thank you. I'll be honest, I came into drug and alcohol work really by chance. I was at a crossroads in my life and needed to think about what career I was going to take, and I decided to do some volunteering. And I volunteered at the Bristol Drugs Project, and 12 years later, I'm still within this field. So I think volunteering was a great opportunity for me to be able to get into a new career and learn about this topic in quite a meaningful and deep way. And for me, I've lived in the UK. I've been surrounded by people who have used drugs and alcohol. And really understanding that harm reduction can make such an impact and make such a real difference to people's lives. For me, it's always been a real clear no-brainer. That's the way we should be going. It makes sense to bring it out into the open conversation and to think about how we can reduce the harm rather than telling people to stop. So harm reduction has always made sense to me, and being able to be on a university campus, being able to be part of this this journey really early on in people's drug and alcohol career taking, and be able to give them the insights, the knowledge, the understanding to stay safe on a night out, reduce some of those harms, and leave here with a degree, happy and healthy, is really what motivates me, to ensure students will be able to have that full experience of Bristol nightlife, but be able to really take care of themselves and achieve what they came here for.
Amazing, amazing. It's really good to know and very inspiring. So are there any proactive measures students can take to avoid developing unhealthy habits with drugs or alcohol while at university?
I think it's really important to be considerate about taking breaks. So, what we see with cannabis use is people quite quickly can slip into feeling like it's acceptable to use every day. And that may not cause them huge issues in the moment, but what does happen is people become reliant on it, and a sort of passive dependency can form of not really noticing that it's developing because there's not a huge amount of negative consequences for them in that moment. So I think being really conscious of actually, am I using these substances more frequently than I would be happy to share with my parents or be happy to share with somebody close to me, and being really mindful of taking those regular breaks. We see a lot of students sort of talk about when they go to the pub, feeling like after a couple of drinks, thinking about picking up some ketamine or thinking about picking up cocaine can come into their thought process. And we can, in an appointment, we can talk about the sort of biology and what's going on there. But really, sometimes it is just being really conscious of going, actually not tonight, and allowing yourself to have that break and not letting it become that habitual every weekend or every evening.
Yeah, amazing. So thank you so much, Becky, for being here today and sharing very informative information and your personal experience as well. So hopefully this will be helpful for our UWE students. Thank you so much.